أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ويل لكل همزة لمزة الذي جمع مالا وعدده يحسب أن ماله أخلده كلا لينبذن في الحطمة وما أدراك ما الحطمة نار الله الموقدة التي تطلع على الأفئدة إنها عليهم مؤصدة في عمد ممددة رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Inshallah, this week we'll be beginning the Tafseer of Surah Humaza. So this surah, it is one of the scholars they mentioned, it is the surah in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of the most severe descriptions of Jahannam has been mentioned in this surah. In other places in the Quran, generally, when punishment is, when we talk about Jahannam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions Jahannam, He mentions Naru Jahannam, the fire of Jahannam. But here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala directly in this surah, He attributes the fire to Himself. Narullah, the fire of Allah. And after this surah, like we covered the last 10 surahs, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not talk about the hereafter in that sense. So this is like the final surah in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala directly addresses the life in the hereafter. And the two surahs, one Asr, the surah before this is the surah in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes the consequence of that loss of time. The person, he does not utilize the time Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given him in the correct manner, and he doesn't take heed from the signs of Allah, then this is the consequence. In this surah has been mentioned. So we take a look at the first verse. وَيْلٌ لِكُلِّ هُمَزَةٍ لُمَزَةٍ. Generally has been translated as destruction. وَيْلٌ لِكُلِّ هُمَزَةٍ لُمَزَةٍ. Be for every person who searches for faults in others and who mocks the mu'mineen. So, وَيْلٌ لِكُلِّ هُمَزَةٍ لُمَزَةٍ. Destruction be for every person who searches for faults in others and who mocks the mu'mineen. Now, in the two words, humaza and the wail is a destruction. We'll come back to this word. لِكُلِّ هُمَزَةٍ لُمَزَةٍ. And scholars, there is a lot of detail as to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to when He says humazatil lumaza. There are two different words, humaza and lumaza. It is quoted from Ibn Abbas, Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma, and he says that humaza is something that is done behind the person's back. And you talk bad about someone, in other words, ghiba, you backbite regarding someone behind their back. And lumaza is when it is done in the person's face. So sometimes people have this attitude that, at least I don't say it behind his back, at least I just say it directly to his face. So, but no, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addresses both of these are equal. Whether a person, he backbites, he talks bad about someone behind their back, or whether he says it directly to their face, he insults, you use harsh words against someone directly against their face, both Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's curse is for both of these people. And when does this gossiping, when you start talking about people, is usually happens in groups. A person himself doesn't start gossiping, talking bad about people by himself. But this usually happens when you sit down with a group of people, a group of friends, and this has become the norm in society, that we start to gossip, we start to talk bad, foul about other people. To the extent it's so bad, if you have a group of 4 people, and when these 4 people are having a discussion, if one of them was to go away, a lot of the times, these 3 people he will become the subject of discussion, and they will start talking about him. And sometimes even with the person is present in the majlis, in the gathering, and in front of his face, he is mocked, he is belittled, and harsh words are used against him, and he is looked down upon. So all of this comes under humazatil lumaza. Zamakhshari, another commentary has been given on this humazatin and lumaza. The Zamakhshari, he mentions Lumaza is refers to as sarcasm. When you sarcastically you pass remarks, you say something good but you mean it in the other way. Example, someone you say to a person says to another person, "You're a genius," whereas he's trying to say you're stupid. So the person who's passed this remark, he knows what he meant. The abused person, he knows what he meant as well, but he can't defend himself because in the manner, the tone, the sarcasm that has been used. So this falls under the word humazatin lumaza. And for these people, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions wailul likulli a wail for all of these for every person who is involved in this. Now, different types of curses are mentioned from Allah and His Rasul. One is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions in a hadith, ittaqi da'wat al-madhlum. Fear the dua of the oppressed person. فَإِنَّهُ لَيْسَ بَيْنَهَا وَبَيْنَ اللَّهِ حِجَابٌ. Because there is no veil between the supplication and between Allah. Meaning this dua, this supplication of an oppressed person will most certainly be accepted. But here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah himself is cursing, he is cursing these people so that the destruction of such people is guaranteed. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself is cursing such people who are involved in this humaz and lumas, backbiting, slandering, talking bad about someone behind their back or in their face, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's wail, destruction is directly addressed at these people. And another thing in the word humaza and lumaza, because the pattern in which these two words they fall on in Arabic, fu'ala, includes something which happens, is not just once, is something which happens continuously, more than once. It's something that happens repeatedly. So these people are involved in this habit, in this evil, you could say, continuously. They keep on doing this again and again. They keep on looking down upon people. They keep on passing remarks against people in front of their face, behind their back, and this continues to happen. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the word wail, one of the grammarians he mentions, normally in the Arabic you have the type of sentence which is used is jumla ismiya. So in jumla ismiya, the beginning of the sentence is usually ma'rifa, for the people that understand. It comes with an alif lam. But here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't bring alif lam, but he brings the sentence begins nakira. So the benefit of this is that the sentence becomes jumla insha'iyya, that is a curse of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala against every person, for every person who searches for faults and who mocks others. So this is one benefit. And with regards to wail, as another commentary has been given, the wail could also refer to, in some narrations mentioned, that wail refers to a part of hell. There are certain narrations from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that one particular part in Jahannam, in the hellfire, has been called wail. And this part is so harmful that the hellfire itself, that it asks Allah to destroy itself. And it is a place which has been reserved for these humazatin lumaza. And where the humaza and lumaza, what are the origins of the roots of these words? The humaza comes from the word hamaza yahmizu, which literally means to poke someone with a sharp object. So this why in the Quran Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَقُلْ رَبِّ أَعُوذُ بِكَ مِنْ هَمَزَاتِ الشَّيَاطِينِ. Say, I seek refuge in Allah, in you, from the hamazati shayateen, from the pokings of shaitan, meaning from the whisperings of shaitan, because the whispering is like kind of, not literally but figuratively, is the whisper of shaitan. He continues to poke away, he continues to whisper evil thoughts into the minds of the believers. So hamazati shayateen. So this is what the word hamaz originates from. So, and how does the meaning apply here? If you look at the origin root word, that these people who annoy others, to see that they continue to annoy that person until they see him annoyed. They see on his face, they can see from his expression that this person has become annoyed. So they continue to do this, acting this humaz, until the person gets annoyed. And lumaza is to continuously persist in finding a fault in someone, and then to accuse, expose, and humiliate someone. So this is the dictionary meaning of the word humaz and lumaz. In another place in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to from the same root word, but a different word has been used. Hammazin masha'in binamim. Instead of humaz, hammaz has been used. So when you have a word on this particular pattern of fa'al, like it's come before as well. So when you bring a word on this, you hyperbolize the word. You bring it on ism mubalagha. So example of that, we say khabaza yahbizu is to make bread. Khabbaz is a person who is an expert in a field that has become his profession. Khabbaz. So hammaz is a person who is an expert. He's a professional in the art of insulting and criticizing. And humaz is a person who does it a lot. So at the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Quraysh, the non-believers, they would send people who were experts, who are very good. In particular, Walid bin Mughira has been mentioned quite a few times, that he would go and he would try to insult Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And humaz is a person who does it a lot, extreme. He goes to the extreme. So this is just trying to capture what exactly humaz and lumaz means. And for these people is wailul likul, complete destruction be for these people who are engaged in slandering, taking out the faults of someone in front of their face, behind their back. And many meanings have been given. A lot of these things, they fall under both humaza and lumaza. So one generally, I prefer to take Abdullah ibn Abbas. Humaza is when it's done in front of the person, behind the back, and lumaz, if I can remember correctly, is one is in front of the face and one is behind the back. Alladhi jama'a malan wa addadan. And those, so two evil qualities have been mentioned so far: humaza, lumaza, and third one, alladhi jama'a malan wa addada. And those who hoard wealth, who amass wealth, and he keeps a meticulous count of it. He's constantly obsessed in counting his wealth. So for these people also, the destruction of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is also for these people. So how does this verse connect with the first verse? The stingy person is being criticized for being greedy. So instead of benefiting people from people and being benefited from people's reminders, what he does, he goes out and he takes out the faults of others people so that they don't say anything regarding him about his greediness. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is also angry at this person and he is cursing this person as well. So jama'a, in one narration, in one riwayah, in one way of reading, you can read alladhi jama'a malan wa addada. You can read jama'a. And this person, that jama'a would mean that he goes through any lengths to acquire. He doesn't care what he does as long as he obtains that wealth. Doesn't matter lawfully, unlawfully. He'll go through to any length to acquire that wealth. And here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the verse jama'a in the past tense. That he has spent his entire life gathering that money. Since it's jama'a in past tense, he spent the entire life trying to gather that money. Jama'a malan wa addana. Wa addana, and he keeps count of it. So, and here jama'a malan, malan means wealth, and the plural of mal is amwal. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't mention the plural, he only mentions mal singular. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is belittling this wealth. That even though this person has spent his entire life trying to acquire wealth, but this in comparison to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has, in comparison to the hereafter, is nothing. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to all of that, whatever this person has earned, as just mal in his singular form. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in another place in the Quran, فَمَا مَتَاعُ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا قَلِيلٌ. That the wealth, the mata' of this world is very less, is very little. And when the non-believers, they will see on the day of Yawm al-Qiyamah the punishment of Allah, فَلَنْ يُقْبَلَ مِنْ أَحَدِهِمْ مِلْءُ الْأَرْضِ ذَهَبًا وَلَوِ افْتَدَى بِهِ. That they would wish they could give the entire world full of gold and silver as a ransom to free themselves from the punishment of Allah, but it will not be accepted. So this, whatever a person acquires in this world, It is malan wa'addada, is nothing compared to the hereafter. Then يحسب أن ماله أخلد, and he thinks regarding that wealth, that this wealth of his, he thinks ماله أخلد, it will keep him, it will make him immortal. It will allow him, he thinks that he will keep, this wealth will keep him alive forever. So يحسب, he assumes, he thinks that to himself, is acquiring this wealth with this frame of mind, that this wealth will benefit me in the long term. I'm doing this now so I can eat, I can live a nice, lavish life, and I will continue to benefit from my wealth. In the second verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just mentions malan, without attributing the wealth to that person. But here, yahsabu, he assumes, this person thinks that wealth is his. He attributes that wealth to himself. And he thinks malahu akhlada, that wealth will keep him alive forever, that it will benefit him in the long term. Then, but in the next verse, like we say, kalla, never, la yumbadhanna fil hutama, this will never be so. He will soon have to die, and then he will certainly be thrown into the thresher, in the crusher. Fil hutama is we'll come to that. Yahsabu, and so he thinks regarding this money of his, that this is going to benefit me. And this is generally the frame of mind of people who are constantly running after wealth. They just want to gather, want to amass wealth. That they do it with this frame of mind, they do it with this intention that we want an ongoing sustenance. We don't want to suffer in the future. But these people have no tawakkul, no yaqeen, no reliance upon Allah, that Allah will provide them. And it's as if they have made their wealth their God. That this wealth is everything. With wealth I can do everything, and if I do not have the wealth, I can't do anything. So that's why they have made the purpose of their life just to acquire wealth, and that's why they spend all the time in trying to acquire that wealth. But these people fail to realize that we are soon going to leave this world as well. I will pass away, and all this wealth that I acquired is all going to remain here. And the only thing that will truly benefit me is the a'mal that I done, the good deeds that I done, and this will benefit me. It's like a hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions, يَتْبَعُ الْمَيِّتَ ثَلَاثَةً. 3 things will accompany a person to his grave. 2 things will return, and 1 thing stays with him. It was a custom of the Arabs at the time, when the person was to pass away, the family would go, and they would also take the wealth as well. And obviously the a'mal a person does, these accompany him. The family is going to return. The wealth will also return and be distributed amongst the relatives and amongst the people. And the only thing that will enter a person with a person into his grave is the a'mal that he done. So we have to take lessons and try to turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and save ourselves from being amongst these group of people upon whom the curse of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is upon. And for these people, like after in the second half of the surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that the punishment of Allah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save us from his punishment and enters into paradise. So we will continue from كَلَّا لَيُنبَذَنَّ فِي الْحُطَمَةِ next week, inshallah. آمين. صدق الله العظيم.